I'd just like to say good morning, everyone. It's nice to see 153 people here, and parents and grandparents who've joined in thanks to the wonders of technology, even in these difficult times. It's interesting that when we spend our time at home and we communicate on Zoom, I think it only reinforces yet again just how important is the power of speech, is the power of words, is the ability to persuade an audience just using oration. And it's a skill which we know is so important, even in this age when there are so many other ways to communicate, so many other ways to express ourselves. Here we are staring at a screen full of little boxes of people talking, and we listen to each other and we learn from each other, and we do the thing that advances humanity more than anything else. We exchange ideas with each other. And in order to exchange ideas, we have to express them. We have to express them clearly, coherently, cogently, and convincingly. And that's what public speaking is all about. And that's what the Baron Snider Competition is all about. And as Mrs. Barban has just said, it has a rich history in our school. It's an event which people get nervous about, but it's an event that people get excited about. And it's certainly, when we come to the finals, people get very excited about the prospect of winning or even just taking part. So I want to thank everyone who has taken part so far, which is the entire year level, and particularly congratulations to the finalists who've got through to this very high standard of public speaking, and I look forward to a great morning. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. And as everyone has already said, welcome everybody and their pets to the annual Baron Snider. As you may notice, we're in slightly different circumstances than usual, during times when we seem unconnected, as my computer last night. As Rabbi Kennard has said, speech is a tool that unites us, empowers our voices and passions to be heard. Albeit surface value, we seem disconnected, we are here today. And so I'm going to be introducing the first speaker of today, who is repping 10A, and we know she's a speech you guys definitely don't want to miss.
Barry has just graduated from Mount Scopus. He thrived throughout school, had a close group of friends, studied hard, and was predominantly a content person. After achieving exceptional academic results, he decided to study medicine at Monash University. Confident in himself and ready to take on this new chapter in his life, he arrives at Monash, prepared to start his first day. He takes out his laptop and realizes that it's dead. He forgot to charge it last night. He begins to stress. Fast forward 5 months, Barry is sitting in his first year metonymy exam, feeling completely confident that he will ace this test after weeks of preparation. Barry glances over the exam paper during reading time and comes across a question that he has no idea how to answer. What will he do? Fast forward nearly 6 years, Barry is just days away from completing his course and fulfilling his lifelong dream of becoming a doctor. The day after his graduation, he begins to experience fatigue, loss of appetite, and joint pains. He books an appointment to see a doctor, pretty confident that nothing is wrong. To his shock, he is diagnosed with leukemia, a form of blood cancer. Barry is devastated. All those years of dedication, all his dreams, shattered. That feeling of belief, of confidence, of courage, of being ready to take on the world, gone. So I pitch this question to you. While we may be confident, are we ever truly world ready? Can we ever accurately predict even one single uncertainty that we will experience in our lives? The answer is no. We strive to have this feeling of world readiness, but I am confident that this objective is an unattainable illusion. Take what's going on in the world right now. We are living through a global pandemic. I know that the coronavirus is the only thing that we talk about these days, but it is the perfect example of the biggest challenge the entire world has experienced for a very long time. In 2015, Bill Gates gave a TED Talk discussing the pure luck of avoiding the global outbreak of Ebola and how the world must start preparing and be ready for the next epidemic. However, for numerous reasons, the world did not prepare and arguably could never be fully prepared for the enormous and shattering impact that COVID-19 would bring. There will be constant and inevitable disruption to our lives. I want you to think of a curveball that you were faced in your life. I'm not talking about having to present your Baron Snider or getting a 2 on your test, a serious hardship. For example, a mental breakdown, a divorce, a family sickness or death, a significant change. No matter how many Hadracha leadership sessions we attend, meetings we have with ENSA, practice tests and exams we do, psychologists we see, news stories we watch, we can never be universally world ready or fully prepared for disruption. If we are held back by the fantasy of world readiness, we will never be able to truly live our best lives. All we can do is have the confidence to be resilient, to learn from past experiences and apply our reflections to the future. Utilizing to our advantage past encounters, we can analyze how we dealt with them, the impact it had on our lives, the successes it brought, the things it destroyed, such that we are better prepared for the unpredictable events that will undoubtedly be part of our future. I'll leave you with this. When you face an unavoidable curveball in your life, draw confidence and meaning from past adversity, and you will be one step closer to living your life in harmony with the natural forces of our universe. Give up on striving for the illusion of world readiness. As the Russian novelist Ivan Turgenev once said, if we wait for the moment when everything, absolutely everything, is ready, we shall never begin. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that incredible speech. It was very thought-provoking, and you had a really wonderful delivery. And I'd now like to call upon.
I'm not the world's biggest fan of tests. Admittedly, I'm also not the world's biggest fan of studying for them. But one thing I really love about tests in subjects like humanities is that they're fair. You've been taught the material, you know exactly what kind of questions you're going to receive. And for the most part, you're tested on how hard you've worked. So why, on this fateful day, have we as a cohort been forced to hand in an assignment we were never taught the skills for? I'm serious. Public speaking is the greatest phobia of the modern world. That's a fact. I found that online. Public speaking. And fair enough. The experience of repeatedly risking public humiliation with minimal practice and no one older or wiser to guide you is, frankly, frightening. You know what else is a fact? People who suffer from glossophobia or fear of public speaking, on average, make 10% less and are 15% less likely to get promoted than those who don't. The skills that contribute to good public speaking aren't just indispensable in corporate pitch or sales-based jobs either. Confidence, idea organization, body language. These vital communication skills are absolutely paramount in establishing professional relationships, whether that's at a job interview, at the front counter of a Macca's, or even at a doctor's appointment. But you know that, right? The school certainly seems to. That's why we have this competition. But the idea that one yearly exam we aren't even taught the skills for is going to somehow improve our public speaking is tokenistic at best. You wouldn't expect us to learn how to write an essay by ourselves, just like You wouldn't expect an athlete to teach themselves a sport. Even 8-year-olds playing soccer have training sessions and coaches. The school has a real chance here to better prepare us for the world by training us at this vital skill. And the best part is, it doesn't even need to involve more assignments. By replacing a few boring written research tasks in subjects like humanities and science with oral presentations, the school could increase its public speaking skills by leaps and bounds. In subjects like English, public speaking activities would be particularly easy to implement. Students could present on the text that they're currently studying in class, or more advanced ideas chosen by the teacher. Mock debates could also become a compulsory part of the English curriculum. I personally took part in these last year as a part of Hebrew class, and in spite of my very shaky Hebrew, the debates were massively successful in increasing fluency and class participation through competition. I got one more fact for you. Only 8% of people with a real public speaking issue ever seek professional help to become more effective speakers. That means that if the school can't help those that struggle with public speaking now, they're unlikely to ever get better. It's time to buckle down and actually learn something in school, because the confidence to communicate clearly is a key skill, and it's one that schools are uniquely placed to supply. Thanks.
Thank you for highlighting the importance of the public speaking in our school, with the confidence to communicate clearly. We really appreciated that. It was cool. Next, we're going on to our first speaker from 10B, a smile that just lights up a room. As you will see,
I'm sure most of you have the app TikTok or Instagram downloaded onto your phone, and I'm absolutely certain that while scrolling through the endless stream, you've come across 1 or 2 or 10 or 100 social action themed posts designed to inspire or inform. Trends like these can and have triggered massive changes in the modern pursuit for equal rights evident in young people today. In juxtaposition to the baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, and grandparents of today, our generation knows and understands our power online, thanks to social media. The harnessing of this power is what makes us the most confident and world-ready of them all in the face of social inequality. Now, I'm sure most of you are very familiar with the recent surge in the Black Lives Matter movement, fueled and funded by teens on TikTok. The widespread online awareness for police brutality amongst Black communities triggered massive rallies across the entire world, with turnouts in the millions. Those attending these groundbreaking rallies were Gen Z in the overwhelming majority, with 90% of all Gen Z Americans voicing their support for the movement, either online or at protests. Who can we thank for this almost unanimous generational support? Mostly social media. Here's a fact to put things all into perspective. 11.8 billion, not million, billion videos have been uploaded to TikTok with the hashtag Black Lives Matter. And with TikTok's user base being 41% Gen Z, it's safe to say that we are leading in the quest for racial equality globally through social media. Additionally, these protests have also sparked real change. Since the tragic death of George Floyd on May 25th this year, every single police officer involved has been charged and jailed as a direct result of public outrage and rioting. Clearly, if enough of our generation bands together to make a change, that change will be considered and understood like never before, rather than being brushed off with the assumption that we're just kids and don't know anything. The BLM movement is extremely powerful, thanks to the widespread support found on social media. 2019 was characterized by many important events, but most famously, the climate action strikes, or hashtag School Strike for Climate. These strikes were attended by millions across the globe and led by the Generation Z icon Greta Thunberg through her domination of social medias such as Instagram and TikTok. The boost in support for the movement is thanks to the sweep of content crossing all social medias in support of the climate movement. And within mere months, our entire generation was united and staged rallies with turnouts in the millions. On the 20th of September last year, 4 million people across the globe left their homes, schools, and workplaces to demonstrate their support for the climate movement and to demand change in our governments. Without our popular social medias, this movement would have never been taken as seriously. On a lighter note, another example of social media's power is the recent hilariously embarrassing rally that President Trump held on the 20th of June in Tulsa this year. With the help of many popular TikTokers, thousands of Gen Z kids reserved seats for themselves and their families with no intention of attending, meaning that the Trump administration had to set up even more seats at the rally, expecting thousands to attend, and were faced with mostly empty seats when the day arrived. It was an embarrassment for Trump and his entire team, and was a huge and hilarious success for all anti-Trump activists involved. If our generation is able to anger and offend the President of the United States of America into threatening the ban of TikTok nationwide, just imagine the power we hold for the future when we ourselves become the political leaders of tomorrow. Social media's power in politics is just a taste of how our future will function. In summary, Generation Z is the most unified and powerful of all the generations before us, thanks to social media. We are the most confident and world-ready out of them all, and honestly, everyone should have seen this coming. We were raised on dystopian novels by the likes of Harry Potter, The Hunger Games, Divergent, The Giver, all of which centering around teenagers rising up against their oppressive rulers and making a difference. So why are you all surprised this is happening now? We are writing our own stories, and this is just book one. Thank you.
Thank you for that absolutely fantastic speech. It was really interesting to highlight the benefits of social media and the digital age. So well done. I'd now like to introduce from 10B.
We are not ready. Not ready to fight a virus that has already killed over 700,000 victims. Not ready to confront an enormous political issue that has caused some to ride through the streets in anger and others to shake their heads over its perceived absurdity. Not ready to prevent a raging fire which has destroyed 12.35 million acres of land, killing 480 million animals and taking human life. We live in a world that prides itself on its ability to combat whatever challenges we are thrown with. A world filled with unpredictability and chaos, where issues and hardships are, in essence, unpreventable. The 21st century's technological, economic, and social advancements make it seem as though, as a society, we are equipped to combat whatever problems we are faced with. But is the world really confident and ready to face difficulties? While, as previously mentioned, issues within society cannot be prevented, the world's poor management of these occurrences can be seen time and time again. Various political, environmental, and health issues, such as the Black Lives Matter movement, climate change, the Australian bushfires, and the COVID-19 outbreak, have thrown the world off its footing, causing pain and conflict among many people. There are many different reasons resulting in these poorly handled problems. The most obvious of these would be a lack of action when action is required. Dealing with problems when they're small would be the easiest way to prevent them from escalating. However, this isn't always the case. Studies show that poverty, both in Australia and worldwide, is still increasing. In 2015, a predicted 734 million people lived on less than $1.90 a day, and the numbers, especially during the current pandemic, are still rising. More work is needed to lower these numbers before it becomes too late. A lack of early action can also be seen when it comes to battling climate change and COVID-19, as these issues have not been contained and have therefore become much harder to handle. Another catalyst for these would be the corruption of many world leaders not prioritizing to stop these issues. The most obvious recent example would be US President Donald Trump's complacency with regards to managing the spread of COVID-19, resulting in America's 5 million cases. In many countries, a dearth of communication between the leaders and their people as well as countries' lack of communication with each other, has helped support these problems, such as China's withholding of information regarding COVID-19. Lack of unbalanced media coverage has prevented much of the public from being alerted to mass issues, including the crisis in Yemen, where 24 million people are in need of humanitarian assistance. And improvements in communication would encourage more people to take action. Additionally, a lack of trust towards the government and a belief that civil liberties are being infringed upon can result in not only the population not taking the government's word when there is an issue, but also refusing to act upon it. The public's responsibility for issues growing cannot be understated, which can be seen through a paucity of social distancing all over the world, allowing the virus to spread, or people not caring to make an environmental change in their lives when hearing of the dangers of pollution and climate change, and many more. While this is only the tip of the iceberg, and there are many more factors for consideration, it is important to understand our roles and our ability to make a change. The answer for how to deal with unexpected hardships is not entirely clear. However, as young people, we will soon be leading the world, and the opportunity for change will be in our hands. So what can we do? Better communication is required between countries in order to communicate what issues are occurring and developing plans to fix them. Higher budgets and resources should be devoted towards fixing these problems and building a safer world. Most importantly, these budgets, resources, and plans need to be in place prior to crises, ready to combat them. We need to let our voices be heard and do our best to be proactive, and then maybe change will be more accessible than we think. If there is an impending issue, we need to speak. We are the ones that are able to make the world confident and ready to face issues. We are ready to make a change.
Thank you for an informative and thought-provoking speech on problem management. Next, a warm welcome to us from 10C.
When you are younger, you'll wish you're older. Then, when you're older, you'll wish for time to turn around, said Ben Platt. As a child, I longed for the day when I could be an adult. I thought that adults were strong, brave, and knowledgeable. I believed that adults could stay up all night, eat lollies for every meal, and watch TV whenever they wanted. To me, being an adult meant being free. So it makes sense that children are always in a hurry to grow up, right? I mean, if that's what adulthood is all about, sign me up. However, if children grow up too fast, how can they ever truly be confident and world ready? Childhood is the most valuable and significant time in a person's life. Children are able to enjoy their lives free of anxiety and responsibilities. It is the time in our lives that shapes our future. During childhood, our moral and social characters are developed, we learn vital life skills, and we set up positive and productive habits that will remain with us for the rest of our lives. Furthermore, the memories that we make during childhood are the ones that never fail to bring a smile to our faces as we reflect fondly on our youth. Childhood memories keep our inner child alive as we grow up. Keeping our inner child alive is essential because if our inner child dies, part of our spirit dies with it, and the magic we used to see in the world disappears. If you were to ask a child about the importance of childhood, they will tell you that it doesn't matter and that they just want to be big already. However, adults will tell you to cherish your childhood, as it is a time of innocence and adventure that you will never be able to return to when you are older. When we are young, there is an appeal to growing up, gaining responsibilities, and being viewed as an intelligent, mature adult, rather than a naive, impulsive child. Adolescents are eager to trade their youth for the improbable notion that growing up will be everything they ever hoped for. As teenagers, we believe that adulthood will provide us with the independence and sense of pure freedom that we crave, so we are blind to the realities of being an adult. Paying bills, finding housing, and stable employment are basic necessities of being an adult that children fail to contemplate when they dream of being grown up. Society is constantly pushing us towards being an adult. From children receiving their first phone at age 10, to the fact that we are allowed to drink alcohol as soon as we turn 18, even though our brains aren't fully developed until we turn 25. Being an adult seems to be the goal that children are pushed towards. But why? What are we missing out on if we remain in our childhood for a while longer? Taxes? Lack of free time? Housework? And stress? Childhood isn't looking so bad anymore, is it? Ultimately, we as a society need to learn to live in the moment. If we are constantly reflecting on the past or planning for the future, we will miss the beauty of the present. Taking time to grow up isn't something that should be frowned upon. Appreciating life as it comes is fundamental for a balanced and healthy lifestyle. Yet, most people today would have no idea how to do that. Growing up is inevitable. It happens to everyone. But don't try to rush it, because one day you'll wake up and wonder where the time has gone. Being an adult isn't all it's cracked up to be. Childhood disappears rapidly, so revel in it while you still can, because once it's gone, it won't come back.
Thank you for that amazing and insightful speech about the joys and the importance of childhood. And I'd now like to welcome...
I had a dream. Yes, you probably think you know where this is going, but 10 years ago, I literally had a dream. I dreamt about being a handsome and confident 16-year-old ready to take on a utopian world. Well, at least half of it came true. Expecting any teenager to be confident and world ready in today's world is not only overwhelming and unrealistic, but can be dangerous too. Psychologists agree that growing up too fast can have devastating effects. One common expectation of teenagers is to start dating. Unlike many teenage boys, I've actually been confident enough to ask heaps of girls out on dates. None of them have said yes, but at least I was confident to ask. When on dates, there are so many difficult questions to consider, such as, should I try and hold her hand, or is she expecting just a kiss on the cheek? Sadly, many teenagers don't give these questions enough thought, resulting in statistics from the Me Too movement showing that girls aged 14 to 17 have the highest rates of sexual assault amongst the youth populations. Although I have a fairly good idea of the issues facing boys, I realized that I knew very little about confidence levels in teenage girls. And as a result, I decided to do some research. I interviewed a cousin and a family friend, both of whom are 16 and neither of whom attend the school. Both of them felt strongly that social media is the primary reason for girls feeling a need to look as perfect as the models and influencers on their feeds. Additionally, they referred to pressure to feel accepted and to fit in. Teenagers also experience enormous academic demands, when trying to prepare themselves to be world ready and to keep their university options open. According to psychologist Dr. Gail Gross, when children try and grow up too quickly, this results in them blocking their learning skills with anxiety. I feel it is this very anxiety that takes over, whether it's due to their social life, their school life, or even possibly due to the English teacher giving them too much work over the holidays. But that's just an example. Parents aren't blameless either. Think of the anxiety students feel when we have to reveal to our parents that we performed poorly on an assessment, or the pressure we feel when we have to repeat our performances when a previous high mark resulted in pride radiating off their faces. Sadly, suicide is the leading cause of death among young Australians, resulting in approximately 350 teenagers dying per year, with an additional 100 to 200 more attempted suicides for every successful one. How many of these suicides are due to not feeling well prepared to take on the world? We are so fortunate to have incredible organizations in Australia, such as Lifeline, Beyond Blue, and the Man Cave, a group who worked with all the boys in our year level last year, while the girls were fortunate enough to spend the day with a similar movement called Flourish Girl. Ultimately, I implore every one of you, as well as your parents and teachers, to be realistic and to consider the risks associated with feeling confident and world ready. Try and enjoy the stage of your life. Live for the moment, and remember the words of Andy from the TV show, The Office, when he says, "I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them." Thank you.
Thank you for bringing light to important issues facing our self-confidence, with an inkling of an engaging comedic tone. Next, I am so excited to introduce from 10D, the one and only
Sunday, 26 January, Australia Day. The sun begins to smile. Your best friend invites you to their pool party. You walk inside, and before you know it, you're being splashed with water from your friend's cannonballs. They eagerly encourage you to jump in. You discreetly glance down at your body and feel your heart try to escape your chest. Your face becomes as red as a cherry. Your hands become damp. You have insecurities. Insecurities leak into our impressionable pores, bleeding into our minds and into our unconscious thoughts. Our insecurities are primarily derived from the media. The media tangibly affects how people perceive themselves by exploiting our insecurities through body perfect standards in the form of Photoshop celebrities or stick-thin fashion models. For men, shirtless and muscular, whilst for women, slim waist and big hips. The unattainable body image presented to all of us by the media has become ingrained in society, generating a milieu where everyone tries to reach goals that are quixotic, unrealistic, when no one is enough. Insecurities aren't some abstract feeling that we occasionally find ourselves trapped in. It's this mindset that we incessantly fixate over, drowning us, trying to keep our head above the waters of shame and expectations, gasping for the few breaths we can find. You're back at the pool. As your heart pounds, you realize that underneath the shirt is a body that isn't emblematic of what the media projects as beautiful and worthy. We are certainly not self-confident and are not world ready. These debilitating insecurities that we shoulder start to become heavier and heavier until the weight that is carried breaks your back. They become so heavy, you are no longer able to continue your normal life but merely make it the center of your attention. Once our backs are broken, we begin to put on a facade of what we think others want us to be, or better yet, what the media wants us to be. Insidiously, we become less confident around our peers, always wondering what they think of us. Do they think I'm fat? Do they think I'm ugly? Come in the pool, they shout. What are you waiting for? You become paranoid. You run to the bathroom, alone, with only your villainous thoughts to speak to. Sometime later, your friends come knocking on the locked door. They ask what's wrong. You scream at them to leave you alone. Sometimes, our thoughts are backed by so much insecurity that they create lies we believe. Am I fat? Am I ugly? While we can't stop how the media portrays the ideal body image, we are able to change the way we think. The answer to removing insecurities isn't by constructing a society where everyone can be vulnerable without judgment. That is unrealistic. The answer is within yourself, blocking out all of the negativity of the world around us and not thinking, but knowing that we are enough. No one is perfect. Everyone is different. Everyone has insecurities. Rather than focusing on the negatives, we should look at our positives and amplify them. We can truncate the air of shame that we breathe through kindness and empathy, lifting us all up as individuals and as a community. After much self-reflection, realizing your uniqueness and self-worth, you unlock the bathroom door and close it behind you. With determination in your eyes, you take off your top and confidently throw it to the ground. You jump in the pool and you start being yourself. The self that makes others laugh and be happy. The self that makes you laugh and be happy. The self that says, I am enough. Once we are able to unlock that door of shame and expectation and close that door behind us, we become confident enough to take on the world. You are smart enough. You are tall enough. You are thin enough. You are enough. Thank you.
Thank you for that extremely well-written speech addressing the worldwide issue of insecurity and its influence in our lives. I'd now like to welcome...
I'm sure you all know by now that Hamilton recently got added to Disney+, which was the ultimate source of persuasion that I needed to convince my parents to purchase it for $9 a month instead of tickets that would have cost $1,000. So of course, my family could not say no, and during the holidays, I binge watched all of my favorite Disney movies that I was obsessed with growing up. Looking back on all of these movies from a slightly more mature perspective got me thinking about how Disney influenced my childhood, our values, and how it was a reflection of society. As a child, I thought I would grow up to become a princess and live in a palace. I never would have thought any different that it was normal to walk down the street and burst into spontaneous singing and dancing. As a mere 3-year-old, life was pure ignorance and innocence. Disney's portrayal of their characters in their films are prominent figures in our lives that have established stereotypes, roles, and values that are expected upon us when we go out into the world. Disney's demographic, the youth, is what makes Disney so powerful and influential, as those values and ideals are cemented in society from a young age. When children find a movie they like, they will watch it over and over again. Therefore, they begin to memorize the songs, the plot, the lines, and slowly they become brainwashed. It could be compared to any form of government propaganda. Watching these movies instills social stereotypes from a young age without a second glance or any questioning. This is the most dangerous form of indoctrination because, as Christoph from The Truman Show once said, we accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. Disney has conveyed many messages to society that are against any morals that the progressive Western world stands for today. In 1989, The Little Mermaid came out, only 3 decades ago, which depicted the tale of a mermaid that made a deal with the devil, gave up her voice for a man, got everything she wanted in life, and lived happily ever after. This very movie musical was put on at our school a few years ago, demonstrating how, despite the message of this story is outdated and against human rights, it is relevant in our culture. Cinderella is the next princess that taught me an incredible life lesson, that instead of striving for my goals or standing up to bullies, I should rather wait around until the universe makes everything fall into place. I mean, it worked really well for Cinderella, because despite her abusive stepmother keeping her as a slave in her own house, her fairy godmother arrived, granted her wishes, which, may I add, were obviously to meet a prince and fall in love. And of course, she lived happily ever after. However, as the values of society have evolved over time, the messages portrayed in the films are perceived as absurd, obsolete, and Disney has rather followed in the path of change. Disney Pixar released Inside Out, encouraging people to understand that negative emotions are needed in our lives to feel the happy ones. This movie is transparent about the realistic struggles of change, adolescence, and growing up. So to what extent do Disney and the media that we are exposed to have an influence on the people that we become when we go out into the world? Is Disney shaping us into being more world ready rather than showering fictional fantasies in our childhood that are not fantasies at all? Just a mirror reflecting on racism, sexism, and cultural appropriation that are still prevalent in society today, yet are still being glamorized by Disney. Ultimately, we, the younger generation, are going out into this world and making a difference, whether we are ready to take on all the problems that we have to face or not. So how are we going to make that change based on the expectations of what our lives should be like and the roles within them that have been institutionalized by the media? Specifically, one of the biggest giants in the industry, Disney.
Thank you for speaking of the dangers of media and instilling stereotypical and harmful ideals, helping us become more critical of institutionalized issues facing society today. Next up, from 10E, I have the pleasure of introducing.
Hi, everyone. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius once said, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." What's the secret to happiness? It's an age-old question, grounded in science, philosophy, and in whichever AFL team you support. Sorry, Carlton fans. We live in troubling times, and many people are experiencing stress and anxiety. With the upcoming zombie apocalypse scheduled for September, the question has never been more relevant. Can we actually make ourselves feel happier? A new branch of modern psychology is gaining momentum, called positive psychology, also known as the science of happiness, led by Dr. Martin Seligman. It's the belief that psychology should be as concerned with building the best things in life as it is with repairing the worst. How can we make the average person feel happier and more fulfilled, rather than just restoring them to a neutral state? To try and answer this question, let's take a closer look at 3 different schools of thought, dating back to the ancient Greeks and Romans. First is the pursuit of the pleasant life, and it has roots in the philosophy of hedonism. Hedonism is the belief that actively seeking pleasure and avoiding suffering is the path to well-being. It's all about having a good time, ebullience, the Hollywood type of happiness. But is this enough? This pleasure is reliant on something external, whereas happiness is all internal. Pleasure is instant gratification, whereas happiness is long-term satisfaction and a sense of fulfillment. Second is the good life, which derives from the philosophy of Stoicism. Stoicism teaches that the path to happiness is found in virtuosity, or morality, and not letting oneself be controlled by either the desire for pleasure or fear of pain. Stoicism contends that external things, such as wealth and pleasure, are not inherently good or bad in themselves, but are merely material for virtue to act upon, and that living life one day at a time with perspective, gratitude, and justice is the key to happiness. Finally, there's the pursuit of the meaningful life. This is about committing yourself to something greater than yourself. The idea that leaving a mark on the world, contributing to something that you really believe in, is the key to happiness. Examples might include supporting a charity or joining the IDF as a lone soldier. I personally believe that the path to happiness lies in a healthy balance of all three: embracing the moment, having a strong sense of purpose, and of course, throwing in a nice dose of pleasure every now and again. But enough philosophy. What can we start doing today to increase our happiness? A major Harvard study of adult development found that the people who ended up happiest were neither the richest nor the best looking individuals. Rather, they were very social. Personal connection creates stimulation in the neocortex of the brain, which is an automatic mood booster, whereas isolation is a mood buster. Focusing on developing healthy relationships with other people is critical to our well-being as humans. If that means Zoom calling some mates instead of watching another episode of The Bachelor, so be it. Studies show that other factors can also increase our daily happiness, such as doing daily exercise, which releases endorphins in the brain, and getting more sleep. Another interesting strategy is the concept of mindfulness, which focuses on grounding and bringing one's attention to the present moment. Mindfulness uses meditation in a variety of forms to help center the mind, reducing stress and anxiety. So that's my brief introduction to the science of happiness, which is key to finding the confidence to facing the world head on. Particularly in these dark times, I hope that we can use some of these techniques to help ourselves and to look out for others. As Greek Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It is not what happens to you in life, but how you react to it that matters." Thank you.
Thank you for that really powerful speech and for giving us the opportunity to consider the root of happiness so that we can find the path for happiness ourselves. I'd now like to introduce...
I'm assuming a lot of you have heard of the TV show Hoarders, the series that follows the lives of a variety of people who are living in their own filth, surrounded by masses of personal belongings, as they simply can't or don't know how to let go of them. These hoarders struggle with the damaging consequences of their collecting problem and cannot possibly change their lives without removing their hoarded items from it. When you think about it, most of us are hoarders. Maybe not of physical items, but of our own emotions. As we fall into the depths of real life's never-ending hardships and challenges, a new item is added to our hoarded collection, also known as our emotional baggage. And I'm wondering, just as the people on Hoarders struggle to live a fulfilling life as they're buried in their physical possessions, can we enter the world feeling truly confident and world-ready whilst we're drowning in our own emotional waste? Emotional baggage is an everyday term describing the experience of having emotions from the past that influence and limit the present day. We tend to carry these potentially detrimental and unresolved issues with us, to the extent where our baggage feels as if it's part of us. Part of being human is feeling things, It's one of the beauties of life. So I do not want emotional baggage to be confused with plain and pure emotion. However, emotions that we felt in the past become emotional baggage when they get stuck over time, making us unable to let go of that sensation or event you felt or experienced so long ago. Like the people on Hoarders, who instead of getting rid of their stuff, find somewhere to store it in ever-decreasing physical spaces, we too store our emotional baggage in our own ever-decreasing emotional spaces when this feeling is not properly recognized or identified. At this moment, I want you to think about your own life. What emotional baggage may you be holding on to? Perhaps there is something you think about often, something distressing from your past that has scarred you. Maybe this has influenced your daily life. Maybe this has unknowingly altered the way you interact with others, changed the way you handle situations, or adjusted the way you view the world. This feeling, this aching feeling, it just sticks to you, follows you around, may even slowly eat you up inside. It's painful, feeling trapped in your emotions with no way out. We as fortunate and independent individuals have the physical ability to pursue a life of freedom and confidence. But there is no point if we cannot feel free emotionally, free of our own trauma, fears, and interfering personal matters from the past. This weight that is holding us down is keeping us from chasing after the life we want for ourselves, suffocating us, drowning us in the deep waters of our own doubts. How can we escape it? How can we send our emotional baggage out with the rest of the trash that life may dump on us? We recognize it now. We take a look at what we once left unidentified, and we acknowledge its presence, and we accept it. It's then up to you. Think about the baggage that is holding you back and preventing you from feeling world ready. Maybe you need to forgive yourself, take a break from the stress, and make time to reconnect with yourself. On the TV show Hoarders, nobody overcomes their hoarding obsession alone. There's always support from friends and family, and often from professionals, known on the show as declutterers. Similarly, to dispose of your own emotional baggage, you may need to seek guidance from the people around you to help sort out your feelings and gain control of your overwhelming emotional surroundings. The future is undoubtedly brighter if we have dealt with the past. Declutter your life, feelings, and thoughts so that you can feel confident and world ready. I will leave you with a quote from author Avinda Epkins. In our own unpacking process, we must own it before we can disown it. Thank you.
Thank you for that incredible speech. It was very powerful, very insightful. And I'd now like to welcome...
Picture this, a wealthy man wearing a $2,000 suit, a $5,000 watch, with a beaming smile, holding a briefcase on his way to a business meeting. Now, picture a man sitting there on live television, tears streaming down his face as he opens up about his mental struggles. Now I want you to ask yourselves, who has more confidence? A decade ago, the depiction of what a real man was someone who didn't struggle internally and never wore his emotions on his sleeve. We always saw confidence as someone who had the best job, had the most friends, and never showed vulnerability. However, society has shifted. Today, there is an understanding that men, just like everyone else, go through the same hardships and struggles every day. A survey was conducted by Beyond Blue regarding men's mental health. It was found that of the men surveyed with mental health issues, just over a quarter had access services for assistance. For those of you that don't like fancy numbers, let me put that into perspective for you. If there were 50 men on this Zoom call that were struggling mentally, only around 15 of these men were seeking the appropriate help. These are concerning numbers, and if that's not scary enough for you, 1 in 8 Australian men experience anxiety, depression, or even both. Based off those numbers, there are approximately 8 men on this call that have or will experience some form of anxiety or depression this year alone. Thankfully, society is changing. Now, more so than ever before, men are encouraged to open up and speak out, not only about their mental struggles, but emotions and feelings in general. This idea of what a real man should be is dead and outdated. No longer can men sweep their feelings under a rug and pretend as if they don't exist. Men, just like everyone else, struggle. Now is the time to be vulnerable. When seeing AFL footballers, professional athletes cry openly on a publicized television series called Last Time I Cried, speaking about the struggles they've endured, shows me what real confidence looks like. This is a show where AFL footballers are asked the hard question, when was the last time they cried? For most players, this is extremely difficult, and them being so open, knowing the publicity it will receive, shows amazing courage and is very inspirational for the younger generation who idolize these players. This is real confidence. Being brought up in a society that encourages men to speak up about mental health enables kids to see what a real man should be, as it takes more than just confidence to sit there on live television and cry about your hardships. Dealing with mental health, whether it be a man or a woman, isn't something that can be dealt with alone. It needs to be dealt with as a collective society. Through the increase in awareness and growth in support networks, such as Beyond Blue, it is evident that the mental well-being of men and women is a priority in today's society. Confidence can be a misleading characteristic, as though a healthy mind would generally lead to confidence, confidence won't necessarily lead to a healthy mind. Just because someone is walking down the street wearing expensive clothing, walking with a strut and with a charming smile, doesn't necessarily mean they aren't suffering internally, as mental health is usually masked or disguised. Hence, why we need to start taking the initiative to offer help to everyone, as we don't know what they really can be going through. Society's growth in the understanding of what a real man is empowers today's youth to not only be upfront with their emotions, true to themselves and vulnerable, but more so, complete, confident, and world ready. Thank you.
Thank you for that amazing speech about the role society plays in anxiety and depression and manhood.
Everyone has a fear, right? Maybe a rational one, maybe an irrational one. Some of you may be scared of certain animals, others scared of failing a test. But some of you may be scared of the future, perhaps scared of getting hurt or losing someone close to you. Why do we have these fears? Are we born with them, or do they evolve over time, from experience, like watching others go through hardships, or from your own hardships? How would you feel if I said, often your biggest fear carries your greatest growth? Although fear often comes across as a negative, it can also be a positive. Fear can help protect us, make us alert to danger, and help prepare us to deal with it. Feeling afraid is a very natural feeling, an instinct, and can sometimes be helpful, like a warning or a signal for danger. Often people live with fears without realizing they are fears. For example, if someone were to attack you on the street, your fear will help protect you by forcing you to react in the situation. Or take the example of your parents, out of fear, teaching you how to cross the road safely, or use a sharp knife properly. These fears don't hold us back, but rather defend and protect us from getting hurt. However, despite fear sometimes protecting us, it often holds us back from growing and striving as a person. Many people choose to play it safe by not allowing themselves the chance to fail. An example of this might be not attempting to get into a course because you might miss out and fail. This is why so many people don't strive to accomplish their goals and dreams for the future, but rather settle for something less. A quote by Robin Sharma states, "The fears we don't face become our limits." People often fear failure, which comes at the cost of their success. Their fear prevents their true growth and happiness. They choose to listen to the voice inside their head that says, "You can't do this. It's too hard. You will fail," which gets stronger and louder the more you choose to listen to it. But why is this fear so powerful? Why does it hold so much over us, stopping us from growing and thriving as a person? Perhaps because fear has the possibility of becoming true, of being our reality. Maybe this is why so many people fear their fears. However, the fear of failure is a choice, and consequently, it is up to us to have the courage to face our fears, to allow us to live life with no regrets and dissatisfaction. Fear should not have the right to dictate and decide our fate for us, and therefore it is up to us to make a change. We must accept and move forward from our fears by facing them. One way of doing this is by finding something more painful than fear itself. For example, coming to the end of your life knowing you never truly lived. Be fearful of what will happen if you don't face your fears. Be fearful of the impact you will have on the lives of your loved ones. And be fearful of the impact you will have on yourself and your life. We need to have the confidence and determination to face our fears, to take on this unpredictable world we live in today. Fear often guides us through life, but it is time for us to guide our fear through life. To me, there are two types of people in this world: those who have faced their fears and those who are living with them. Those who are living with them are those who are held back and restricted compared to those who have faced their fears, who live life with the strongest sense of freedom. We need to tackle and take control of our fears to give ourselves the freedom and confidence to truly become world ready. To end my speech, I would like to leave you with a quote by Dozan Tama, which states, "Don't let the fear of what could happen make nothing happen."
Okay, thank you all for the most wonderful, eloquent speeches. The adjudicators for today are Kane Campbell and Maddie Borowski.
Firstly, I just, on behalf of Kane and I, and I'm sure on behalf of everyone here, I wanted to thank all of our finalists today for not only your incredible delivery and your poise and your confidence and your entertainment and really kind of being such accomplished and polished public speakers, but also for the inspiration and the depth of the content that you guys covered. Going through these topics from men's mental health, positive psychology, emotional baggage, gender stereotypes and equality, Me Too, mental health, the relevance of childhood, managing problems, resilience. I can go on. I hope I haven't missed anyone. The importance of public speaking, about public speaking. We were blown away by the depth of your thought. How honestly I feel inspired by the fact that you guys, as the young generation, which you've all referred to, have really both acknowledged the challenges that you face, but also are really stepping up to the mantle of leadership to pave the way for a better world. So thank you not only for being here, but also for inspiring everyone here. We feel, as I can speak on behalf of the adults attending this Zoom, we feel confident and world ready because we feel that you guys have really accepted the challenge to create a better world for all of us. So thank you. I also wanted to take the opportunity to thank all the English teachers and everyone in Year 10 who have put so much time and effort into your Baron Snider speeches. This is obviously a highlight of the year every year, and you've been well prepared, and the caliber today and of all the Baron Snider speeches throughout all the classes has really been exceptional. Which brings us to the business end of the proceedings. So again, I wanted to thank all the finalists here today. Kane?
This was probably one of the hardest things we've had to do, and it got down to the nitty gritty. So before we announce the winner, I just wanted to give some honorable mentions here. So first up, I wanted to give an honorable mention to the first speaker off the bat. That was a wonderful presentation. And also a fantastic speech there as well. and wanted to give a strong honourable mention as well. It was so hard to choose between all of these speakers, so I felt I couldn't go on with the final part without giving an honourable mention to those presenters there. So back to you, Maddie, to announce the final winner.
Thanks, Kane. And again, we're massive honourable mention to everyone, and especially our honourable mentionees, which leaves us with one winner. And so on behalf of all of us, we'd like to wish Mazel Tov and congratulate on being the Baron Snider winner for 2020. We felt that speech not only ticked all the criteria in terms of his ability and his delivery, but also in terms of the content, addressing the insecurities and challenges that we all face, both you guys as younger teenagers, but certainly issues that adults deal with constantly. And so again, I'd like to congratulate all the finalists today. We're all very, very proud of you, and you should be proud of yourselves. And Mazel Tov to everyone. And thank you, Kane, for co-adjudicating a very, very tough Baron Snider final.